Welcome to Love You Bro podcast. I am Jude DeVella. This is my baby brother, Jamie DeVella.
What it do?
Bro, tell them a little bit about how they can follow us on social media.
Yeah, we'd love for you to follow us on our YouTube channel, subscribe, I like that. Follow us on TikTok, X, and yeah.
Follow us. I also follow us on Instagram.
Oh, on Instagram, sorry.
But please, follow us on our social media. You guys will be interested to kind of find out like who our next guests are, who our people are that we've got coming on. We have a lot of big name people that are coming on this summer that we're super
really fun ones.
Yeah,
I mean, like we're not talking about our one tonight. I mean, Big George
that we're super excited about. But yeah, tonight's show we got George Karlaftis, two-time Super Bowl champion, defensive end for the Chiefs. That we're super excited. So he'll be on our show a little bit later. Right now, I'm going to talk a little bit about our sponsors. We'd like to thank Proactive Solutions. Proactive Solutions has been delivering infrastructure solutions and IT design and consultation services to clients ranging from startups to Fortune 100 companies for more than 27 years. They are proud to be a Kansas City locally owned and a top woman-owned business, offering custom solutions and personalized support. You can trust Proactive Solutions with all your technology needs. If your company needs IT solutions, reach out to Proactive Solutions at www.proactivesolutions.com. So thank you to our friends over there.
Absolutely. Thank
Proactive
you so much
for being such a big sponsor of ours. We also like to thank Nimble Brewing. Nimble Brewing is some good friends of ours that have a brewery at 1735 Oak Street. We want to thank them for letting us shoot and have this awesome space to be able to shoot that
100%.
at. As well as Primetime Transportation. If you guys are needing transportation for Jazzu or any of the concerts coming up this summer, feel free to reach out at
Lionel Richie on Thursday night.
Well, there you go. Yeah, Lionel Richie on Thursday. 913-484-1234. So that is our sponsors. And we're going to get into a little bit of our show. Talk about a few things, and then be really excited about bringing on George Karlaftis. But, bro, right now I really want to start off with kind of the biggest news of the day, really, is the new contract with Justin Jefferson.
Before we go there, I just want to say how you did that with your glasses on.
Thanks, man.
That was really impressive. That was really impressive. And either you're eating tons of carrots or I don't know, but you had your shit LASIK. You had your shit LASIK when I didn't know, but you just read that entire thing. Like, good for you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that, bro.
No, absolutely.
Complete smart ass. But anyway, okay, so let's keep going for it. This is the best part about doing. Listen, if you can't go do something with your family and do it with your brother or do it with a sibling, there's no sense in doing it. We talked about that from day one about wanting to do this together. And so it's the best part about doing this thing.
SVC or CVS readers on the ground. Like, that's good stuff.
Hey, I put my readers on the ground. I read what I needed to read. All right, so let's jump into this Justin Jefferson contract, because this thing changes the dynamics of not just for what's going on there in Minnesota, but for what's going to go on in Kansas City, what's going to go on. I mean, Justin Jefferson, 4 years, $140 million. $110 million guaranteed.
Which is crazy.
Crazy money, man. Yeah. But, bro, well, you know what? I know how. But you kind of explain a little bit about how do you go and pay a wide receiver $35 million a year? How can they do that? How are the Vikings able to do that?
Well, obviously, they lost their QB this year. He went to Atlanta, so they weren't going to pay him. They drafted JJ from Michigan, and he might be a year or two away, but they have that at least window that even if JJ doesn't play next year or the year after, and they don't have to extend him, but he's their guy and kind of work through the system, you want to give a guy like that the best possible weapons and surround him with the best possible weapons. And I mean, Justin Jefferson is a fucking freak. Like, there's really, really good. And Chase, who, we'll bring up here in a minute. Chase is going to get paid, but he's not Justin Jefferson. I mean, Justin Jefferson is good.
He's a dog. Jefferson's a dog. He's a game changer. He's a guy that you and I always talk about. He moves the needle. Yeah. I mean, he definitely moves the needle. But again, I think the dynamic of this thing, that what it changes for everything is it's going to change where you're going to see, you're going to see teams that have those rookie quarterbacks. They're going to be the ones that are in the market for that big receiver because they can go pay that $30-35 million, which is crazy money for a wide receiver to me. But if you have someone like Mahomes and you're in the situation we are in Kansas City, you're not necessarily in the market. You're not in the market.
You'll never be in the market for that. Exactly. And that's why, I've said it all along. Like, so when you're on that rookie deal, you can and Mahomes did it, and the Chiefs did it when they went out and got a bunch of guys to surround Mahomes with and put him with as much talent as possible. But the reality of it is, like, every year, if you're the Chiefs, you have to draft a wide receiver in the first or second round. And I mean, look what we got with Reid last year. Reid was a really, really good wide receiver, because you're never going to be in that market. And that's the second part of my, statement here is like, you have to, if you're a team that pays a quarterback, every year you have to draft a tackle, a cornerback, or a wide receiver. Those are the ones that get paid the most that you're never going to be in the market for.
Of course.
Ever.
Yeah.
And you may get someone later on in their career that's looking for a ring, but you're never going to be in market for those guys.
Right.
So it's so important to draft a tackle, to draft a wide receiver or a cornerback where you're never going to be in the market play for. So it's
true. And with that being said, I think what's different about our team, what's different about our roster is, you see a lot of these guys across the league and everybody's talking about, I need to be the most paid at my position. I need to be the highest paid at my position. You don't see that inside of our team. You look at our team right now and what Travis Kelce brings to our team, and we always give and show loves and shout out to TK. But what TK's done for us, man, TK's never been like, I need to be the highest paid tight end.
No.
He'll go in there and compliment the 5 guys that are getting paid higher than him, but yet come playoff time, who else do you want besides 15 throwing the ball to 87 come playoff time?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm telling you right now, bro, even the receivers we're talking about, Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, all those dogs, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, those guys that are out there, I don't know come playoff time if I want anybody else besides 87 catching the ball from 50.
No.
And I'm not saying that I want, because you need to have multiple people, but I'm just saying the way they put their runs the last few years, 87 is money come playoff time.
And I think there's layers to it, because I think TK is, he has absolute been the ultimate teammate, the ultimate, within the organization, what he demands. But if you're playing with a quarterback who's less than, or playing on a quarterback that's like, you need to secure you and your families, and you're having trash throw it to you.
Sure.
It's different than it is if you can, like I said, if you have Mahomes, it's like, okay, I'm going to get mine and I'm going to get paid plenty than going to play for someone that you may never see. We had some receivers back in the day that you pair them with a top flight quarterback.
Right.
Their longevity in the league and their financial security. So I definitely, yes, it works that way. But if you're these receivers and now the league is a passing league, you need at least one guy in your stable that can go and get it. That's a difference maker. And that's why, we talked about this before, the kid in Carolina, he's set up for failure. There's no one that he has in his stable that you could feel comfortable about. No. And you could be and once again, it's shown before that guys maybe fizzled out or didn't have the structure or infrastructure within their organization to help him succeed. In any walk of life, any business, you set people up to succeed. And that's what, that's what the Vikings invested in this, which they can, to JJ McCarthy. Anytime you're investing in a quarterback, that you need to have that, and give him every option that, he can. And there's, go ahead.
You look at Bryce Young, going number 1 overall last year to Carolina, right? But then you go and look at the stuff that the GM over for the Houston Texans did, and he goes and gets Stroud. Then he goes and makes a crazy trade to go get Will Anderson Jr. at 3, who's, you're talking AFC, NFC, rookies of the year, offensive, defensive side of the ball. They were setting CJ Stroud up to succeed. And now the way the Texans have loaded up, man, bro, the Texans are going to be tough this year.
And I've said it for a while now, the Texans will be, but that's what they went and did. They went and they traded for Stephon Diggs. They got Nico Collins. They got Tank Dell.
Right.
They got the tight end that came up from Dallas. And then they got Joe Mixon. So you don't have a reason to not succeed. Either you can play or you can't play. Right. And when they surround you with that, you'll know really, really fast if they can play or they can't play. And there's no excuses. There's no so they've set that up. But yeah, I think Jefferson, and that's a crazy amount of money. But once again, if it's a receiver, and you could ask people in football behind closed doors, does he deserve it? People would be like, kind of does. He kind of does. He kind of does.
A couple of years ago, Tyreek got 30, right? So a couple of years ago, Tyreek got 30. And to me, if you're looking at
he deserved more than that. It's
to me, if you're looking at the receiver list, I definitely put Jefferson right up there with Tyreek. I think him and Tyreek right up there, close at the 1 and 2. And without giving too much away, I think we might have Tyreek come on our podcast here a little bit later this summer. So looking forward.
So not to say too much. That would be that's everything.
Looking forward to hopefully getting the Cheetah. Shout out at Cheetah. Ran into him here a few weeks ago and asked if he'd come on the podcast, and he said, "Hey, I got you,
Shout
bro."
out Cheetah, let's go.
Yeah, Cheetah. So listen, we're gonna be pulling for you. Except for when you play the Chiefs, because when you play with the Chiefs,
I still want to see him get his when we play I just don't want him to, even when he threw up deuces last year. I threw him up the TV. I'm like, get yours, my guy.
Yeah, of course. Well, because we were up by a good amount at that time. Listen, I'm looking forward to bringing on our guest, to bringing on George Karlaftis today, man.
Big George,
just talking to him a little bit about his, coming in the league first couple of years, being able to win back-to-back Super Bowls. I mean, bro, we've been watching these games for a long time. We've been around this organization for a long time. We've
been busted for a long time.
Yeah, we've been riding and dying with the Chiefs for a long time. We saw a lot of lean years, a lot of years we didn't have the players of the team. So for George to be able to go back to back and be on the team first 2 years, I'm really anxious to see what he's got to say about all that, and super excited about having him on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, like I said, it'll be like, and those guys are built different, but like there's this younger generation of kids that they've never. I mean, we went through that suffering for years, and we discussed early on about. We always thought we had a chance when we never had a chance. But like these young kids, all they've known is like either from 15 or 14, 15 of winning World Series into the Chiefs being really good. Like,
man, I mean, listen, man, those guys are in junior high or high school, like in 14 or 15, saw 2 World Series. And if you happen to be a Kansas fan, you happen to see the Jayhawks win a national championship in 22, and then all these, the Super Bowls with the Chiefs. Yeah. I mean,
they don't know anything. They don't, Minnie and Teddy, they don't know. I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna be able to do when they don't make the playoffs or don't make the Super Bowl. Jeez, Teddy and Minnie were already like crying when they thought they were gonna lose. I'm like, what?
Come on, man. They're too young to know all of our pain for all those years, man. How many times we walked out of that stadium? And what we tell each other,
wasn't enough Milwaukee's best light in the city that I could like.
And what we tell each other at the beginning of the year, we'd be like, this year's our year.
It's our year.
And we were always so far away, man. We just didn't have the pieces. But hey, let's talk a little bit about the Royals too, man. Royals
switch up gears.
They had a huge comeback yesterday against the Padres. And just a little take on that. You saw their game on Friday. You saw them battle back. And I listened to their manager on the interview last night, and he talked about he felt like that comeback win yesterday was really kind of a reason for the way they fought back Friday, the way they battled on Saturday. That Sunday, when they came back, he wasn't surprised they came back and scored those 3 in the ninth. But I think for those young kids like that, that's a huge comeback win to take one from the Padres when they had lost those first 2 nights. Come back in the ninth like that, have those big hits. See Velasquez hit that one, hit that triple off the wall. But big, win and come back yesterday.
No, and I love their makeup. I love Bobby Witt. He tagged. Boys are playing some ball.
Yeah,
and it's kind of they're rallying around one another. And they faced some diversity. They faced some adversity this last, of losing games like that, and they salvaged that yesterday. And it's really fun. They obviously have a huge series coming up with the Tribe, which will be a lot of fun. Like, tell me how excited you are. Like, tomorrow night, a Tuesday night, to play a 3-game series against, like, you're playing first place baseball. Out of 4 games, you're back 4 games, but you're playing them, which is awesome. And this weekend, bro, to see the crowds and shout out to Big Slick. It's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And you look at everyone they had out at the stadium. For me, you always have your regulars, Rudd and Sudeikis, but they just had so many people out there, like, that represent, Kansas City, that are about Kansas City. It's a fun time. And I think that they've done an amazing job of embracing that role and of moving forward of what can be. And I think the city, the city deserves it, and the city's behind it. And once again, we've talked about going into, if it's late August where training camps, you're about to break, you're playing some preseason games and you're still playing meaningful baseball. And then you kind of get into September where you're like the Chiefs start and you have a possibility. The city's never had that ever in the history of Kansas City. And what that would mean for the city and what that would mean for just the fan base and how special it can be here. So I'm all on board, man. I ride and die with him now. It's like, if I'm not watching, I'm listening and know what's going on, know who's pitched well. They're a little bit banged up right now. The Royals are, Waka's, he's hurt. Massey's he's out right now. But patch it together and give them an opportunity to play. If they can take 1, maybe 2 or 3.
Right. But that game yesterday, that comeback win yesterday, you and I were talking, just during the day and, about the game and stuff as it was going on. They were, our left-hander, our stud yesterday was throwing. That kept us in Regis was kept us in the game. But my thing was, coming back and getting that win is all the difference in the world from Cleveland was winning early, then they ended up losing, and we ended up coming back and winning late. So instead of going to Cleveland being 6 down, now we're 4 down.
And bro, can you believe that shit that we were 8-2 and did not gain one game on Cleveland? That's fucking unheard of. You win 8 of 10 and you don't gain one game. That stuff is like, and then yesterday, finally, we snatched it because we would have went to 6 down.
Right, of course. So I said,
6 down. So we win and it goes to jumps to 4, but we finally gain a game. But it's been, So
now we're talking about the Royals being in June. Here we go at Cleveland, down 4 games. You're gonna find out real quick just how good this team is, or how they're gonna go battle right now against Cleveland. I mean, they got to win at least. To me, they got to take at least one of those games.
Yes, one for sure.
If they go and take 2 or 3, and then they're going to have the Yankees come in the following week, which those guys right now are just killing everybody.
Oh my God! I mean, but you know what? It's so unfair that they can go out and just if they're like B-Max said a couple weeks ago, if they don't if there's a free agent that doesn't work out for them, then they're on to the next.
Of course.
They'll pay $100 million.
Right.
But, right now, and Soto is the best player in baseball.
Yes, for sure.
He's
Hands
taken
down.
the crown away from Judge in the biggest baseball city, the hardest market.
For sure.
So, and he goes, I'm a free agent. I'm not signing anywhere until the season's over. There's no guarantee.
No,
they're saying right now the Mets are in play, and the Dodgers could be a possibility because in baseball, there's no, there's no guarantee. But the Yanks, and, they've been doing, the Royals have been doing a really fun promotion. It talks about the history of it and what, the games they played. They played massive games back in the 80s when, Brett hitting off Gossage and all that shit. But so the Yankees are, and even when we're god awful, the Yankees probably have more fans there, but it's still a packed ballpark.
Of course.
But now with the Royals have enough, appreciation, and they have enough that it's going to be, that stadium will be packed.
It's going to be a fun series. So hopefully, if everything works out, we can sneak out to that Thursday afternoon game, try to catch that Thursday afternoon game, the 4th game of that Yankees series. But that'll be a lot of fun to get out there and like I said, just see what our guys do and how they compete. They don't have to beat the Yankees, but they got to be able to compete with them and show in the playoffs they can make a little bit of noise.
But I want them to beat. Like I said, if they can take a couple, take one, and it's not over. If you have Lugo and Reagan's going, I'll put them up against any 1 and 2 in baseball.
Right.
Not from a financial standpoint, not with the highest paid or not. But I would those dudes right now. Reagan's, and it's tough because you see, and kind of what to me personally, what differentiates a guy who is legit is Reagan's might not always have his great stuff, but he's fucking fighting. Man. He's fighting. He gets to 100 pitches in the 6 1/3, but he keeps you in the ball game. He keeps you. It's not like he doesn't have his shit. And he's like, okay, I'm done. He's like, it's just.
And is there anybody in baseball now throwing better than Seth Lugo?
No, because that dude, he is just. And what's crazy is I didn't know he is essentially calling his own pitches.
Right.
He's calling his own pitches, and from that whole dynamic, he has such an incredible feel for it. Right. And once again, that dude is not overpowering. He's not a guy that's he's going to blow you away with 98 at the letters and then, slide piece that's off the, off the, he's crafty and knows his stuff, and he's confident and no, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I was kind of bummed that they decided to go with Reagan's yesterday. And then once again, he has a no decision. If you look at his stats, he should at least have 2 or 3 more wins than he does.
Right.
But because I wanted him to line up 1 against tomorrow night against Cleveland, and then come back with Lugo game 2. That was mine, but it didn't work out. But just go find a way. Go find a way to win and
I don't know. They showed me a lot in that comeback win yesterday against the Padres. Because like I said, 1-1, then they go give a couple runs in the 8th, top of the 8th, they go down 3-1 and come back and score 3 in the bottom of the 9th. That was big. And I said, going to Cleveland now down 4. Now we're talking about the Royals in June playing meaningful baseball right now. Yeah. So let's hope they keep it rolling, man.
And what I want to touch base on real quick before we get to Big George is the NBA playoffs.
Yes.
And NBA playoffs. I want to it's been really fun. Obviously, I'm a Laker guy, but I love the NBA. I love the NBA. I love watching it and watching where it is now. Boston, fuck Boston. I'm just not a Boston guy.
Right.
But seeing the Mavs and seeing what Luka and Kyrie have done, it's been a so beautiful. Yeah. And those dudes go get it.
Yeah.
And everyone I see, you look at Luka, and Luka's slower than you.
Right.
He is.
But that boy can ball.
Oh my
Luka
God.
Doncic is legit.
He hits fadeaways. And so the other night, I don't know if you were watching it, but Snoop was sitting courtside.
Right.
And he told he was just normal Snoop, kind of he's a Laker guy, but it's like told him to stop. He's like, hey, stop crying, stop crying.
Right. To Luka?
And Luka came in and hit this like, Luka slow slide, not traveling, up, hit it. And it was a 3-point play. And he looks at Stu, he's like, who's fucking crying now, motherfucker? And Stu was just like, you got me. He's like, you got me. But it's fun. And I like to see, I'm rooting for Dallas, obviously for multitude of reasons, but I like to see Kyrie go in and beat him. I don't know if it'll happen. Boston's kind of run the tables from, but it's going to be intriguing television, intriguing like.
It'll be a great final. I think it's gonna be a great finals. The only reason I'm pulling for Dallas is because you see our guys sitting courtside. You see our guys sitting courtside.
Yeah.
15 loves his Mavs. Hollywood Brown, he's from Dallas, so he loves the Mavs. And then I saw last week during the playoffs that TK went down to meet those guys, and they showed him back by their locker room stuff, meeting Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
And so now he's got his Mavs jerseys and stuff, and they're super excited about that.
And he was so they were there together, and then TK pulled up to the hockey game.
Yes, I saw that.
And Mahomes went there, and he's like, "Get out of my arena!"
Yeah, get out of his arena. Yeah, that's his town, man. That's 15's town.
So it'll be fun. And those guys will be courtside. And I said, it's funny they all play into it, and they were. I don't know if you saw, but they were booing TK, and he just kind of played into it.
That's right.
So like,
TK loves that, man. He loves getting booed like that.
He was super charming, like he always is, and
of course,
he was super. So it'll be fun, and I'm excited to see it. There's a lot of great sports happening right now going on. Kind of the Royals playing that once again. A year ago, 2 years ago, you don't have that. It's like you're already talking about Chiefs mini camp,
right? Of course,
there's enough people now talking about.
Nope. Hey, let's get ready to bring our guest on, man. We're super excited about this and bringing on George Karlaftis, two-time Super Bowl champion, first-round draft pick, went 30th overall. We're super excited to bring on George and let him tell a little bit about his story and how he got here to Kansas City and what all that stuff meant to him. So let's bring on George.
All right, right on. Let's go.
Welcome to Love You Bro podcast. Coming back here, we're bringing a very special guest on tonight. Two-time Super Bowl champ, George Karlaftis. George, thank you for coming on our show tonight, man.
It's awesome. Thank you for having me, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. This is awesome.
This is great. We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, man. We know what the off-season's like, how much work you guys put in, and we just want to say thank you for coming and being a part of our podcast, man.
Looking forward to talking to you guys today.
Jamie, what do you want to start off with tonight?
George, so when you were getting drafted, obviously you didn't know. Did you kind of know what range you were going to go into, and were the Chiefs in constant contact, or he?
Well, it's kind of weird. Like initially when I was leaving, I thought I was going to go a little higher, and I really went. And then after the combine, I fell down a little bit, or I fell in the rankings or whatnot a little bit. And then I was like, all right, we had a few places that I thought I was going to go, and we're like, well, it'd be crazy if I went to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And actually draft night starts, and we're going, like my head coach Jeff Rom is like, I think you're going to get drafted to the Chiefs, because that's Andy Reid had called him and all that stuff.
Okay.
Not telling him, but just he had a good feeling, and
of course.
They took Trent obviously before me, and I was like, dang, they're not going to take two defensive guys.
Right.
And they called, so it was awesome, dream come true, and then what a great situation I'm in.
Of course.
Yes. And then in that class, obviously. It is considered, I know they're in the history of the Chiefs, they've had some drafts that were before my time that I knew, but it's one of the best draft classes in Chiefs history with the guys that you got. I mean, obviously you, Trent, Watson, Pacheco. I mean, the guys that you got in that class, I mean, that's something that's special that will be in Chiefs lore forever and ever, right? I mean, how do you feel about that?
It's awesome. I think not just with our class, but the way the Chiefs conduct their business is they get guys that love football and do stuff the right way usually. So, that's who they target for the draft. Sure. That's why we have a lot of hits with that. I think as a speaking for the organization. Sure.
And when you came in, was there anyone that you gravitated towards right away, or anyone that was? I mean, I know obviously the culture and dynamic of the Chiefs is second to none. But I mean, was there someone that was like, was it Frank? Was it Stone Cold that said like, follow me?
I mean, for me, you're always going to gravitate more towards those D linemen, the pass rushers. We're in the same room, we got the same coach, all that stuff. So I started gravitating towards the older guys in the room, Frank and Chris. And then during training camp, we got Carlos Dunlap, who's another guy, another guy who's always just, been awesome and been a great friend, and a guy that's helped me out a lot along the way is Mike Dana, who was he was in year 3 and then all that stuff. And, now he obviously got paid and stuff. So I'm super happy for him. But those really clung to those guys. And,
Of course. Yeah. Of course. So coming into Kansas City, though, George, when you came in, how much did you know before you got drafted? How much did you know about the Chiefs? I mean, obviously they were big time, but how much did you
about
really know?
the Chiefs?
Yes.
I mean, I knew quite a lot. I knew about Frank and Chris, and I knew about Patrick. I knew about Travis.
Right.
But obviously, but like if you want to go back, like DT and like those guys, but just some legends overall.
Right.
But not too much about like the current state of affairs, obviously outside of winning Super Bowls and all that kind of stuff. But nothing much really about the city, and that kind of stuff. So it's been awesome, and we love it here.
So was it intimidating at all? Like walking in that locker room and seeing some of the vets they had, seeing the guys like Frank Clark, seeing the guys like Christian. Is it a little intimidating coming from college?
Well, I thought it was going to be, honestly. We got there for rookie minicamp, none of the vets, so it's fine. And then you go there first day OTAs. You're kind of, you're nervous. You don't know what it's the first day of your new life. So, you walk in, you're a little nervous. But then one of the first people that came up to me is like Patrick and Travis. And they're like, hey, man, I'm Patrick. I'm Travis. Like I know who you are. Right. But like just, them just taking the time and like, just introducing themselves like, and they're like, oh, okay, they're real. They're real people and that kind of stuff. So they just breaking off the ice like that when you have two of the guys that are the figures of that organization. I mean, that's, and that kind of goes to speak to the whole culture that we've developed.
Jamie and I have talked about this for a long time. The 22 years we've been around doing our primetime assistant stuff and being around the athletes and stuff, we've always talked about how different the locker room is now. And like you said, the Patrick Mahomes and the Travis Kelce, they're not veteran guys that stay back and say, okay, we're the vets, we've done this. We kind of stay. They're up front, like you said, coming up to you guys, introducing the rookies and stuff. And I think that makes that whole culture different, that locker room.
It goes a long ways, I would imagine, as opposed to Russell having his own office or whatever that was and like isolating himself.
Absolutely. I think Coach Reid does an incredible job with all that kind of stuff, just making sure that the guys that are supposed to lead are leading and doing it the right way. And then, making sure everybody knows their place and their role.
Yeah. It's exciting. Like I said, bringing you in here, and we thought what was going on. Offensively, they were putting up the big numbers, right? So Jamie and I go and we look, and they draft McDuffie, they draft you. And we looked at some of the first-round draft picks, like some of the other linemen that went ahead of you. And I think even some of the stats. What were some of the stats we were looking at, Jamie?
Yeah, you're second. That was a pretty deep defensive line / end, and you're the second with 16.5, behind Hutchinson. Yeah. And bless us, he slipped to 30, which is awesome. But you came out, and I think a testament. This is the honest truth. Your worth ethic is second to none. That's a guy that. You could have a veteran laden that works, and then you see George come in and work, and it's like, that's a different kind of work. That ain't your work ethic. So once again, as far as you kind of go in and do your thing, you've already have what you do as far as like how hard you're working, extra work you put in, which kind of leads me to getting together with Tamba and seeing the stuff that you do with Tamba.
Absolutely.
And
was it like open door, like he just reached out, or were you like, I need to find to get to that next level?
Absolutely. I think after my rookie season, I reflected upon how my season had gone, and in that you look for ways that you can get better and improve and really take your game to the next level. So, shout out to Ramsey Bino Robinson. That's my guy.
Bino,
him and I were talking, and he knows me really well, and he was like, hey, I have this guy. I know you've been working, and I reached out to him for you. At this event or whatever, and he'd love to sit down and talk to you and all that stuff. So I was like, oh, sweet,
right?
And then Tamba from there, we started working out together. We started getting in the gym together, jiu-jitsu. He started teaching me pass rush stuff that he had done, and he's been a great mentor, great friend, and just someone I love being around and working with.
That's awesome. Shout out to Tamba Ali and shout out to him.
Love Tamba.
Getting inducted to the Hall of Fame there at the Chiefs and going up in the Ring of Honor this year. Like I said, George, and doing what I've done the last 20 years, you go and you see players in different eras and different stuff, and watching like Tamba. Tamba was a guy who never took a playoff. Never took a playoff.
Chase stuff on backside.
When you said you were working with him, I knew just being around you, the first year when I started being around you, I knew how hard you worked at your craft, everything you do on and off the field. To make sure you're, like you said, better each week in and week out, getting better. And then when I knew you were hooking up with Tom, and I kind of saw on social media is how I saw it first.
Yeah.
Looking at Instagram stuff, and I was like, wow. I told Jamie, I said, he's working with Tom, and Jamie goes, there's a guy who works every week to get better, and now he's working with Tamba. But tell us a little bit more about Tamba. Is it just, do you guys be working with him once a week? Is it during the off season, or is it during the regular season as well?
It just really depends. I mean, it's been mainly the off season, just because the regular season's a lot more strenuous, the program, all that kind of stuff. But we're in pretty regular communication. Even last season, he'd send me texts after major games. All that kind of stuff, and he's been awesome, man. I think we've connected on more than just like a level of like a protege almost, or like someone that's teaching me stuff. If you look at our stories, they're kind of similar, with him growing up in Liberia, moving here. His dad, like mine, was a professor, so there's a lot of similarities, and we've connected on an awesome level. Just again, he's a great friend.
Right. So tell us a little bit about when you started playing football, because coming over from Greece, in Greece you weren't playing football, correct?
Water polo goalie? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: does that any of that reflect into your maybe not, but in football, whether it's hand, whether it's endurance, whether it's any of that?
I think just growing up, just doing as many different sports as you can, just being on a wide array of different kinds of sports, really. I think that's what builds kind of your athletic base,
sure,
so to speak. So I water polo is my main thing, or became my main thing as I got a little older while I was in Greece, but I was doing everything. I was in the water from the time I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Track and field, soccer, tennis,
Sure.
Was wrestling growing up. So just a bunch of different things. I'm a firm believer in just when you're a kid, just doing as much different stuff as you can until you find something you love. So I definitely think water polo did help me with some stuff. Like my hand-eye coordination, my lower body strength, that kind of stuff. But
Sure.
I think just the culmination of doing everything.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that I don't like seeing as much, George, when we talk about athletes, is nowadays it's so much different than when we were younger, when we played, because now it's all these club sports, and you see some of these coaches that are coaching these kids, and they're like, we're going to lock you into one sport, and you need to play this all year round. Maybe I'm old school, because maybe I'm an old guy, but when I look at it, you talk about all the multiple sports that you played and how much better that helps you later on. When you see these younger kids now, if you were talking to some younger kids out there today and you were talking to them, would you tell them, you need to hone down on your skills and do one sport, or you need to play as many as possible?
I mean, I can only speak for myself,
right.
But I think the main thing is just sports are supposed to be fun. That's why everybody does sports, and then it gets a lot sweeter once you start becoming good and having some success. But I think the main thing is just having fun and doing as many different things as you can. That's where it starts. You do it just for enjoyment, and then if you turn out to be pretty good at something, or you have a dream or a passion, pursue that. But
of course,
you got to let kids be kids at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, because I feel like sometimes these club coaches. I just see some of them, because I've had younger nephews, or we've had younger cousins that have been part of club teams, and you see the way some of these coaches push, and it always makes me question, what was your pedigree? Where did you come from that you're so installed in just you have to play one sport? And like I said, I feel like they take some of the fun out of it for the kids. I think they need to play as many sports as possible. Like you said, have fun playing. They gotta love playing it, right?
Yeah, that was my journey. I mean, other guys have been successfully just doing one thing from when they were young, and they turn out to be great. But for me, that was my journey, and I know a lot of guys are like that too. So I think just being able to enjoy what you're doing, and just figuring out for yourself what you love is really important.
Of course. George, let's talk a little bit about your first 2 years in the league.
Yeah.
I know you talked to a lot of guys that you went to, like you said, the combine with, pre-draft stuff with, guys around the league that came in about the same time. I mean, do those guys ask you God, what's it like being on back-to-back Super Bowl champions? I mean, it's very rare. There's a lot of guys we know in Kansas City that never stepped the Super Bowl.
A lot of guys, mentioned to me. I remember Carlos Dunlap. He was 13 years and hadn't won a playoff game. So you have moments like that, or like Travis, the other day. It's hey man, you've won two, and it's your first 2 years. What the heck, So just a blessing, being in the right place at the right time type thing, but also trying to make as much impact as I can on the team and helping the team win at the end of the day. But it's been a blessing to be a part of something special like this.
Absolutely,
which is crazy. So when you let me ask you this, George. So obviously you're pretty serious. You're locked in. who are the guys in the locker room, whether it's the defense side of the ball, that just be clowning that you can't help but to hold it together and just be like, all right, that's fine.
I mean, we have a lot of personalities in the locker room. You know, I hang out a lot with the defensive linemen. You know, we have a lot of guys that are like high in energy, you know, huge personalities. A guy like Willie Gay was a guy that's like, he always just like, I don't know if you know Willie, but he's got a huge personality. He's always got the energy, you know. Chris Jones and other guys kind of like that. So, you know, a lot of guys have big personalities, and it's awesome because in the locker room, you know, you're with guys. Yeah, but you're with guys that are from a lot of different backgrounds and cultures, and you know, it just widens your life view so much. Being a part of that locker room just opens your horizons.
In the Super Bowl, there's, you know, that clip that Chris Jones says next to you, he's going to cry. He's like, I'm going to cry. And how you respond. I mean, that was just it was a beautiful moment outside of sports. If you were to see that, that's like really, it's so raw, so real, and how it was captured. And like, that's something that I'm sure you'll never forget as your career progresses. And
we always talk about it. It's a brotherhood amongst men, you know, just that being in that defensive line room, you know, so it's, you know, whoever I've played with, whether they're on a different team, retired, or still on this, you know, you consider them your brothers, you know, having gone through everything, you know, being together every single day, you know, going, you know, to the games, to we call it like a war, whatever you want to call it, together. And it's, you know, it's a bond that it's unbroken, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And then when you fell on that fumble on that drive, because they were kind of getting some momentum, San Fran was getting some momentum going down. The ball comes out. Does that thing look like a beach ball, or does it look like a tennis ball when you're trying to fall?
I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. Rolling, I was like, "Oh, the ball's out." So well, like usually,
and that thing wasn't coming out.
I didn't know whether, like, a lot of time when there's a fumble, they like call it back or something like that, but. That one just popped out. I was like, okay, well, I better get on it. And,
of course.
You know.
Of course.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah, basically.
So last year's Super Bowl, you know, I kept hearing the stuff on, you know, after the game was over, I keep hearing about these Niners guys, and they're crying about our offensive line. We were holding Joey Bosa. We were holding, you know, their D linemen. We were doing all this. And working with you and I had talked a little bit afterwards, and you had brought your Super Bowl gear home back to the house. Yeah. And you and I looked, and you were like, well.
Yeah, my jersey was pretty wrecked, too. So.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your jersey looked like on the side?
It had holes, and it was basically holes, right? Big rips down the sides, you know. So it was about the worst shape my jersey's ever been.
That's what we talked about.
Hey man, it's the Super Bowl.
Of course.
You got to go all out, regardless who you are.
Right. But like I said, when I'm listening on social media, I'm like, and it's not like I'm going to be on social media like going back and forth with them, but I'm sitting there going, I just left George's house and he showed me a Super Bowl jersey, and it's like torn down both sides where the offensive line was holding him. And there's times like, you know, we're watching the game, and I'm watching the game with Jessica, we're watching, and I see someone hold you or Chris Jones or something, and I'm screaming in the living room. I'm like, Jesus, they're holding him, pulling his jersey off.
I haven't had more fun in another game. You know, it's been the most fun. You know, obviously both Super Bowls, but that one was, you know, it was very sweet.
So the 49ers one would probably be your favorite out of your first two you picked?
It's like comparing children.
Kids.
You know, it's like,
which one's,
I don't know. They're both special. You know, the first one, there's nothing like sweeter than that, because it's your first one, you got one, and then your second one is like, oh my God, this is amazing, and then your mind slowly shifts. Like, all right, now we got to get three.
Right. I think the exciting thing right now for this team is, you know, our family, like you and I have talked before, our family's been around the Chiefs organization since 1965 when our dad started season tickets. So we saw all the years in the 70s and 80s, and to see what goes on with that team now and to see what you guys are doing, how does that mindset, you guys go and win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And I know I'm already hearing guys, I'm working with you included, I'm hearing guys go, you know what, three-peat. Like guys are already getting their mindset of, you know, this is what we got to do to get to that. And you see the stuff in OTAs. Yeah. How do you feel like inside the locker room with what Pat and Travis?
I think guys are just, you know, we have a goal in mind, and we're going to do everything to reach that goal. You know, we're focused on this mission, and you know, let the best team win at the end of the day.
Right. How's OTAs been so far? I know now
they've been great. You know, just seeing a lot of the new faces around the team. You know. Being able to get some work in and all that stuff, they've been great. I love OTAs.
Right.
Have you noticed on the defensive side, like with some of the new guys they brought in offensively, does it look? I mean, because obviously they got more speed. Obviously Hollywood, he can fly, and then Xavier, and then the kid from TCU. Have you noticed just how much more speed they had than last year, and it's kind of faster.
Right. I mean, we're not going live. There's no pads on or anything like that. But there's definitely some speed on the offense. I can say that.
Yeah, which is great. So, and then as far as like moving forward, it's like as you guys kind of ramp stuff up and you guys have your goals in mind of what you guys want to accomplish, like what is as a defense, because obviously you lost Willie, who is a big dude. You guys lost Snead, who was an absolute dog. Like, is it collectively you guys come set and say, hey, we got to compensate for this, or we're just the nucleus is in place and it's just like you lead by example and just kind of.
Well, when you have a lot of guys returning, like we did from my first year to the second, from the Super Bowl against the Eagles to the Niners, and then. You try to get better each year, especially when you have a lot of guys returning. We have a lot of the same pieces, and we had a pretty good defense last year, and we're just going to try to keep getting better every single year.
Yeah, of course. What was the biggest thing for you from year 1 to year 2, the jump that you guys made? Because the defense was good when you guys beat the Eagles. Obviously, the defense was good, but what did you see in last year and the transition? Like, what was the biggest part on that jump that put you guys? I mean, you guys were top 5, and I'm talking. Jamie and I are talking. We talk. We argue a lot during the season, but we're talking a lot during the playoffs. And I told Jamie, I said, I don't care. I said, I don't care what defense you want to talk about. You talk about the Ravens defense, talk about the Eagles, talk about the Niners. I'll take our 11 guys we put out there over those other defenses. So I'm thinking we're top 1, 2, 3 defense. Yeah. What was the biggest thing for you jump wise year 1 to 2?
We don't really pay attention to the rankings or anything that. But for us, we challenge ourselves, both, as teammates, but also ourselves as, to become better than last year. We had a lot of guys that maybe it was their first year starting, their first year with a bigger role, that kind of stuff. So I think everybody just had to take that next leap in order for us to reach our goals, really. Of course. For me, I'm always a guy that likes to reflect and, I like to take notes and that kind of stuff and really just hone in on what I got to do better in order to reach my goals. And I think, guys in their own way did that, in order to better themselves and in hand better the team for this past year. I think that will continue to happen.
And what was it like coming into the organization and Joe Cullen being such a stud? And like,
he's awesome,
you just hear the greatest things about him. And
he's the best.
Yeah.
He's the
and
best.
you light up when talking about him.
Absolutely.
Cool. I mean, that's
Joe.
a cool
we all love Joe. I love Joe. He's as good as it gets as a defensive line coach, as far as I'm concerned. Everybody raves about him. If you hear guys that he's coached in the past, they all love Joe. And he's just he brings the best out of you. He really does. And I know he's gone viral or whatnot in the media, but he's fiery. He has a passion for the game, and he's a great coach, but he also cares about us very deeply.
Of course.
So it's you really want to play for him, and I think Spags is very similar in that regard too.
Are they pretty fiery, like off camera, are they? It's just kind of even keel, or they?
Well,
they get at you when they have to.
Yeah, I know with Coach Cullen, you can't turn that kind of fire off. So.
It's either there or it's not there, huh?
Yeah, right.
How about Coach Reid? Coach Reid always seems just so mild, man. You never see him get too high, too low. Is he any different in the locker room behind closed doors?
It's about I think it's about what you'd expect. He's very clear on his expectations, and he's going to treat you like a professional. Of
course.
And as long as you do what you're supposed to do, you're just fine with him. And I think that's what it is. If he treats us the way we expect to be treated, and if we do that to him, then it's a win-win situation. So he's awesome to play for. He treats us all like pros. I'm not gonna say he's calm, but he's not super fiery, yelling, rah
when
rah,
TK
that
was
kind of
yelling at him in the
stuff.
Super Bowl, he was as calm as my little girl was talking to him. She's 3.
But the message and the point gets across very clear.
Right. It's fun to watch, like I said, Coach Reid, because it just seems like everybody I've talked to, all the guys are like, he's a player's coach. Everybody loves playing for him. And my interactions, which have been few, he's always been nothing but nice and always talking.
That's him. That's him.
And just very family oriented. And like I said, when he came to Kansas City, I know he changed the whole dynamic of that locker room and everything. And
he's a guy that truly cares about each guy as an individual first. I think that's all of our coaches, really. We're blessed with an amazing coaching staff led by, Clark Hunt, and then, Coach Reid, Brett Veach, and everybody else there. It just starts with being good people and doing stuff the right way, from the top down.
Of course.
And then, George, so this all kind of full circle. playing at Arrowhead is you played in the Big Ten where there's, big time stadiums you're going to, big time environments. How does Arrowhead, and it's once again, it's historically one of the loudest places in football, and it's crazy. From the tailgating to everything when you guys are walking in that stadium. So that gives you a lift, right? Because and you were familiar with, like I said, whether playing on the road or playing at home in the Big Ten, that's a college environment. And when people come, they're kind of in awe. And when it's like in the home of the Chiefs, that's 75,000 yelling down, and it's got to be like, this place is different. Like
Absolutely. For me, I grew up in Greece, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with how the stadiums are in Eastern Europe, but it's very different than in the United States. So growing up with that, it's hard really to top that. I got to college, and I was like, okay, like it's not
Greece.
To me, it wasn't like there wasn't that same intensity. I get here, and like these fans are passionate, man. So it's awesome. They really care about the team, about each guy as an individual, and it's an awesome atmosphere. I think between the fans and the way everything's put together, it's awesome, and it fires us up.
Right. Jessica's family's from Philadelphia, and they came in, for a Chiefs game, and they're like, in Philly, everybody's like it's just so tough and rough out there and everything, and they're like, we got to Arrowhead and like, people were like offering us food, and like offering us and it's like, that's the Midwest, man. Like, that's Kansas City. That's Arrowhead.
Yeah, I'm sure. I've never watched a game at Arrowhead, but I'm sure it's like that. All my family that comes, Kaya, my girlfriend, everybody, they love going to games.
Right.
So it's been awesome.
It just feels like a big family
Absolutely.
atmosphere with everybody there.
Absolutely.
George, I want to touch a little bit on last year's playoff run. Jamie and I have talked a little bit about, it wasn't the season that everybody thought, okay, we're just going to go through and go 14-3 and have home field advantage. You guys had to face that tougher road coming out. You had to go at Buffalo. And then I want to talk a little bit about that because there's some questions I have for you on that Ravens game. But what was the mentality and everything with everybody going to Bills Mafia? Here we go. We're going to go on the road. Was it a different mentality?
We were. I'm not going to say it was a different mentality, just going on the road and stuff like that. But it was just like we were focused on the mission. Whether we were playing, I know Coach Reid always uses the analogy like he doesn't care where we're going to play. It doesn't matter to us. We're there. It's the same. 120 by 53, and you line it up and play. So that didn't matter as much to us. We were just focused on the mission at the end of the day.
Right. So in that Ravens game, like again, Jamie and I are talking during the game, or whatever. You guys really came out. I think the Ravens thought they were going to out-tough you guys.
Yeah.
But the way you guys came out and had the opening drives, and you guys started shutting that stuff on down defense, and then Charles came up with the big strip.
Yeah, absolutely.
On Lamar. What was that like coming out and just punching the Ravens in the mouth?
It was great. We knew that they, we know their identity. That they're tough and a physical football team. That's going to try to establish their run game. So we knew we had to bring our stuff. We had to bring our big boy pads. So being able to come out with a victory was huge. Our toughest game up to that point in the season. And it was to get to the Super Bowl. So you're going to leave it all on the line.
You guys held your composure, George, because they were trying to do shit at the end of plays and push and clutch and grab and trying to get in your head. And I kept telling Jill, like, they were composed. They were walking back to the huddle.
I think that what I always tell people is like, and I know this is not a lot of people talk about this, but to me was maybe one of my favorite moments of the season. For another person was getting to watch MVS catch that pass in the game, because he had, people were writing him off basically. People were just saying the worst things, and he's a great teammate and a great guy, and he's a great player too. So being able to see him overcome whatever adversity he had gone through and come up with that huge catch, just for me, was just that was awesome. That took us to the Super Bowl.
Of course, that's really cool for you to say, because don't you think, like you said during the season, what happened, and as far as him not having the season he wanted to have, but for Patrick to have that, like they call that play, and Patrick's like, I know where I'm going. I'm going. If he's down there,
absolutely. I think we have a foundation of just trust and belief in each other and our teammates. So that's where it all starts.
That's awesome. So what's next right now? We got you have a little bit of downtime off. What were you doing during that downtime off before we head to training camp?
Yeah, I always go back home to Greece. For about 10 days, week to 10 days, somewhere in there, just so I can take a step back, relax, take my mind off of things. And I'm training. I go back to Louisville, where my college strength and conditioning coach Dominic Reno's at. My position coach from college. I go train with them. We get after, and then training camp.
Awesome.
Cuisine when you're missing grease. Is there any place here you're like, man, I got to go and get just a little taste? Not that it is home, but not that it is home.
I like to cook. I like to cook,
Okay.
so I cook it myself. You know, if
Okay.
usually I always like to say, if you want something done right, do it yourself. So.
I love that.
Murphy.
Listen, George, I can't thank you enough, man, for coming, for taking time out of your day. I know how busy your schedule is, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck this season. You know that I'm going to be by your side doing what I can do to help you get through another year. And I can't thank you enough for that. But thank you so much for coming on our podcast tonight,
thank
man.
you guys.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of
Appreciate
fun.
you,
Sharing a little bit about
Appreciate
that,
you.
man. I love you, brother.
Love you
And like
too,
I said, man, just looking forward to this year and what you guys are going to
Appreciate
do.
you, bro. Thank you
And
so
hope
much
guys-
for coming on. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you. Stay healthy. Have a great year.
Three-peat?
Yeah,
Let's go
do
get it.
Okay, let's
Let's
do
go
it.
get it. Thank you,
Thanks,
brother.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.